Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals. Seahawks favored by 2.5 at Arizona. They've got playoff positioning on the line. Seattle, disappointing loss last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need a win plus a Green Bay loss or tie, or some tie scenarios.
Good. Thank you for not reading them out.
Tie scenarios.
Great game from Arizona last week, particularly the offense. I mean, the run game was dominant, but Kyler Murray had his best game since coming back as well. I don't think that necessarily matters. The more I think about the Kyler Murray situation, the more I think it's like their default position as an organization, new GM, new head coach, new structure, has got to be, given the contract he's already signed, do we see anything in the final however many games he played to say that he can't be the quarterback? Otherwise, he's the guy, because you're kind of stuck with him. You could move away from him, but given he's there, he's young, he's talented, we've seen a lot of good from him in the past, I kind of assume that your starting point should be, is there a reason this can't work? Otherwise, he's the guy. And I don't think we've seen one of those yet. I think he's shown physically he's 100%. He's got a track record of being an explosive playmaker as well as an athletic threat. He's an accurate quarterback. He's always had a high adjusted completion rate, good ball location, all those kinds of things. So I think they're going to be going with him regardless of what happens. But they're in a team in a situation where they have a shot at a really high draft pick, and they also have a shot of winning a game and taking them out of that. So what do?
Play to win.
Play to win.
You're going to try to win here.
You play to win the games.
Arizona, it's tough to. I read the YouTube comments. One of our YouTube commenters said we didn't mention Jonathan Gannon as a part of last week's game with the Eagles, which is maybe an oversight by us, right? He was last year's defensive coordinator for the Eagles.
As part of the reason for the decline.
Well, I think there's the decline, and also
as a storyline in the game.
In that game, in particular, as how they dominated the Eagles, and Gannon maybe has done he's done a nice job at trying to figure out when the Cardinals are going to play their best game. The Cardinals have played some games this year where they looked like the team that should have picked number one overall. They've played other games this year where it's like, oh, good for Gannon, because they have a number one overall team type of roster, and they beat the Cowboys, and they beat the Steelers, and they beat the Eagles, and they're really competitive. Don't know when those games are going to show up, but in any given week, man, they ran the ball really well. James Conner did a great job last week, and what Seattle struggled with last week was tackling. Seattle missed 15 tackles in the run game alone, with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren running all over them. I'll reiterate, I was trying to explain, because a lot of people say, well, you gave up 200 yards on the ground, you lost in the trenches, which paints this picture of your defensive line getting moved 5 yards off the ball every single time. It wasn't the case. Seattle was a disaster last week in gap assignment and missed tackles. It wasn't just a physical beatdown, but you could say it's a physical beatdown if you don't tackle well, but it wasn't like their defensive line just getting wrecked. So Seattle's got to do a better job of stopping the run, because Arizona is capable with James Conner back there, and they're capable any given week with Kyler Murray.
Definitely. I mean, Kyler Murray, he had his best game. He didn't have a ton of explosive plays last week, but he's capable of those. That's the thing that he brings to the table is he's accurate. If they can establish a pretty powerful ground game and rely on the run game, and that's going to open stuff up for Kyler Murray as well. So, I think Arizona's offense can do some damage against Seattle, and then it's a case of, do they have enough on defense to slow down the Seahawks?
So that part I don't think they do. The first game was only 20-10. Seattle won at home, but Geno Smith's playing really well these last few weeks, really since that Thursday night game against Dallas. He's played extremely well. Not great against San Francisco, but since that point, Philly, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, he's thrown the ball well. Couple fourth down. I know the Eagles game was Drew Lock, but they've had a couple fourth quarter comebacks, both against the Eagles Monday Night Football and then that Week 16 game against the Titans. Seattle should win this game, though. But the fact that it's only 2.5 at Arizona, that's saying, look, this Cardinals team's feisty. You never know when they're going to show up to play.
You don't. I do wonder how motivated Arizona is going to be, though, to win this game. I mean, they are a team that can do themselves a lot of damage by winning another game.
I agree.
And they're capable of beating anybody.
They could be anywhere from 2 to 4, right, as far as the...
No, they can be... I mean, they are right now, they're 4. They could get as high as 2. They could also, with a win, drop themselves as far as like 7
with a with a loss.
Yeah,
they could be anywhere from 2 to 4. So they have
could,
potential
but
to be up at 2 or be
they
down.
probably won't be. Their strength of schedule is actually a lot because they've beaten these good teams. Their strength of schedule is actually a lot worse or better, whichever way you want to look at it, than the 2 teams they're tied with. But the point there is, if they win another game, their strength of schedule is so strong that it actually drops them below all of the other teams they'd be tied with as well. So if they won and the Giants, Chargers, and Titans all lost, they'd drop below all of those teams in the draft order. So they can drop all the way down to 7 with a win here, which would be, I mean, that's, they were expected to be the worst team in the NFL. We thought they would be picking 1 or 2. If instead they end up picking 7 with a team that wasn't much better than that, they just somehow timed ridiculous wins against Dallas, Philadelphia, and all those, that would be terrible.
It is probably in their best interest to lose this game.
Yeah, or at least, not try that hard to win.
Exactly. All right, 2.5 in Arizona. Where are you going with this one?
Seahawks.
Same.
For that reason alone.
Also take the Seahawks.